Hi everyone. This week I'm going to be talking to you about Saturday Night and Sunday Morning by Alan Sillitoe. This is a really nice book. It's quite an easy read, but that's not to say that there's not lots of interesting things you can talk about in it. And it's quite short as well. So it's divided into two sections: Saturday night and Sunday morning. Saturday night is much longer, so it feels like there's lots of build up in this novel. And then Sunday morning is only two quite short chapters. So lots and lots of build up, and then like quite a. I don't want to give too much away. A little bit of an anticlimax at the end, and that kind of ties into one of the themes, which I'm going to go through in a little bit after I've talked about the plot. So Saturday night and Sunday morning, it follows Arthur Seaton in working class Nottingham after the war. So Arthur Seaton, he's a really likeable character. He's such a cheeky chappy. So he works in a factory making bicycles. So he works really hard all week, and then nothing more than he likes on a Saturday night than to go out and get really drunk. So he's very much a work hard, play hard kind of guy. He's definitely a guy, not a gal. So he works hard all week and goes out boozing at the weekend. And he's really bold. You know, he likes to kind of make a bit of a show. So he spends a lot of his wages on all these like fancy clothes to go to the pub, and he takes really like great pride in his appearance. And another thing about him is that he really likes to sleep with married women. So his argument for this and how he kind of justifies the morality behind it is that, well, you know, if husbands looked after their wives better, then, you know, they wouldn't look elsewhere and they wouldn't sleep with me. So he kind of justifies it in that way, but he has, certainly at the start of the book, and in the first section, he has no desire at all to settle down. You know, he just likes being a bit of a Jack the Lad, going around sleeping with women. And at the start of the book, there's one woman in particular, Brenda, who he's having an affair with. And he's so bold. So he stops at her house when her husband's away, and then, you know, in the first instance, we see them where they have a relationship. He stops over and he leaves literally seconds before her husband comes back. So he goes out the front door, the husband comes in the back. You know, he has breakfast at her house and kind of interacts with her children. And he's just so bold about it, and he just doesn't seem to care. And he seems to think that the husband does not realise at all. So he actually works with the husband, and he's bold enough to even go and talk to the husband regularly. You know, at work, and he's like, oh, you know, I see Jack as a bit of a friend of mine. So he's really quite bold in his affairs. He also goes on to sleep with Brenda's sister, Winnie, which causes him all manner of issues as well. And he ends up getting beaten up by Winnie's husband because they're in the army. You know, Winnie's husband's mates, I guess, are in the army, and they beat him up. But he feels so little remorse for having these affairs. You know, he really likes the excitement. You know, his life is so monotonous. You know, he works in the factory, you know, and then goes out at the weekend every single week. And you know, one of the things with the book is we really get a sense of like the passing of time. So, you know, you'll read a chapter and then the next chapter will pick up and it'll be months later. And you'll only really know by the changing weather or the changing seasons, or the fact that it's now Christmas all of a sudden. And it makes you realise how monotonous working class life can be. You know, there's no opportunity for change, there's no opportunity for, you know, social progression in this society. But still, you know, these working class people are fed this idea that their lives are amazing. You know, they've, you know, it's after the war, so everyone's got a little bit more disposable income. So Arthur, you know, he buys his suits, and he's able to kind of, he's got this disposable income. He can take girls to the cinema, he can go to the fair and spend money. He gives money to like his younger cousins to go and get some sweets and that kind of stuff. But there's no real opportunity for like proper social progression. And not that he really wants it either. So one in the book, Jack, Brenda's husband, gets promoted. And he kind of makes fun of authority. He says like, oh, why do you want to do that? He's kind of a bit against authority in the book. So he has no desire to kind of progress in that way, but there's no opportunity for it anyway. So maybe he's kind of telling himself that that's not something he wants because the opportunity isn't there to start with. So he's always seeking excitement. And another reason that we know this is because he starts dating this young girl who is available. Finally he's meeting a young girl who is available for him. But she's called Doreen, and she's really sweet and really nice, and she obviously is very, very fond of Arthur. But he misses the excitement. So he talks about, he takes her to the cinema and he's not scared of getting caught with her. He takes her to on a walk in the countryside, and he says that he's both frustrated and relieved at the fact that he's not kind of like peeking around corners and trying like having to do things in the dark. And it frustrates him and it angers him, but he's also relieved as well. So we've got that kind of conflicting emotion there. But Doreen is kind of a nice girl. She won't sleep with him until they're married or at least engaged. And she wants to do everything proper, but Arthur, he cannot get out of sleeping with these two married, even though he's been threatened at this point by Winnie's husband. He's not actually been beaten up at this point. He's been threatened by Winnie's husband. He's worried that Jack's going to find out. He cannot stop pursuing them. So he's kind of got these three women on the go at once at one point. And so Doreen really wants to go to the Nottingham Fair with Jack, and he says, no, I can't go on the day you want. I can go on Thursday, but on Saturday, the big night of the fair, I can't go. I'm seeing my cousin. And so she goes with someone else, and he ends up going to the fair with both Winnie and Brenda. Now, Winnie knows that he's having the affair with Brenda, but Brenda doesn't know that he's having the affair with Winnie. And what he does is he kind of waits till the other one's back is turned and like gives the other one a kiss, and he's just walking around so boldly with these two women that he's sleeping with, and he should not be sleeping with them. So ballsy of Arthur. Okay, let's go on to the themes. I don't really want to give away anything of the ending. Although I will say that it is an anticlimax, so lots and lots of build up, but life is just kind of boring. Life is just feels flat at the end. So authority. Arthur has so little respect for authority. He is in the army and he did fight in the war. And he has to go away for 15 days every year, it says, to do this kind of army training. Which he hates. He really hates being in the army. And he says that even though it pays more than working in the factory, he still really resents having to go for these 15 days every year. So he sneaks out of the camp and gets absolutely drunk, like hammered drunk. And is just disrespectful to the officers and is just, no respect at all for authority. At some points as well, he gets really angry at like the government and his situation, but not. Maybe anger is a little bit too much of a strong word. He gets frustrated at the government and his situation, but this anger and frustration never really amounts to anything because he's totally powerless. Like what can he do? He's happy enough. Like there's nothing particularly wrong with his life, but there's just no opportunity for him. So often this frustration comes out in other ways. So violence. When Winnie's husband is threatening him, he says, "You better watch out because I'm going to beat you up too." And he totally gives as good as he gets. And he drinks a lot. He sleeps with these unavailable women as a kind of release. So this would be a really good one for thinking about with train spotting. This kind of anger at society and anger at the situation, but never really any kind of drive to do anything about it. So this kind of feeling of hopelessness it shares with train spotting, certainly. Social class, also a really good one. So lots of representations of the working class in Nottingham after the war, both in the way that they are supportive of each other and there's a real sense of community where they live. and everyone knows each other, and it just feels super lovely. So at one point, Brenda goes to see his auntie, and they have a nice chat, and he's like playing with the kids, and it just feels so warm and so like really a sense of community. Another one that you could think about is friendships, particularly male friendships. So even though Arthur is sleeping with Brenda, he still maintains that he's got a good friendship with Jack, and that they're mates. And he kind of like has a bit of banter with him, and he always thinks, oh, maybe I'll tell Jack, or maybe Jack will find out. He's not totally without remorse for his friendship with Jack, but still not enough remorse not to sleep with Brenda. He also has a strange interaction at the end of the novel. This isn't really giving anything away. With Winnie's husband, I can't remember his name now. With Winnie's husband, so he's kind of like stopped sleeping with Winnie at this point, and he sees him in the pub and offers to buy him a drink, and kind of everything is smoothed over with this really small interaction of like him buying a pint for him, and we get that sense of camaraderie, even though like he's totally been beaten up by Winnie's husband. And I think that's about it to talk about. So yeah, really nice book. Lots you can talk about, and it's a really nice one to compare with Trainspotting. It would go really well with Trainspotting as well, because I feel like Trainspotting is quite challenging because it's longer and it's just trickier to read. But this one you will get through quite quickly. So really nice comparison there. Let me know if you're thinking of reading it or comparing it to anything else. I'd be delighted to hear your ideas. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a good week.